The universal assumption is that the moment a promotion is presented, acceptance is mandatory. It offers increased compensation, superior job titles, and visible proof that you are succeeding in the corporate game. However, I am here to contend that for approximately 65% of the workforce, accepting that upward move is actually the most efficient method to devastate both long-term earning potential and personal satisfaction. It sounds absurd, I realize. Why would any rational person reject a raise and a step up the professional ladder? It is due to an economic pitfall known as the Peter Principle. This is not merely dated corporate satire from the 1960s. It is a mathematical certainty that explains incompetent leadership and, crucially, how you can prevent yourself from becoming that incompetent leader. If you climb blindly, you will inevitably reach a tier where you fail. Today, we are going to examine why declining a promotion might be the most profitable career decision you ever make. I have spent years analyzing labor economics and corporate hierarchies, and the data is alarmingly clear. Most individuals are promoted based on incorrect metrics. We treat careers like video games, where the goal is to continuously level up until defeating the final boss. Yet, in the real world, leveling up often completely alters the game genre. You transition from playing a first-person shooter, acting as the sniper, to a complex resource management simulation where you are merely shifting spreadsheets. If you are an elite sniper but a disastrous accountant, that promotion is a trap. We are going to dissect the hard data on this phenomenon, review a massive study of sales teams that proves the point, and then I will provide a specific framework for how to decline a promotion without appearing as though you have given up. This is about strategic stagnation. Before we explore the mechanics of why you should remain in place, I want to mention that this channel is dedicated to viewing money and career decisions through a rational, mathematical lens, rather than an emotional one. If you want to cease making decisions based on feelings and start making decisions that genuinely increase your long-term utility, you should subscribe. It is the best return on investment for your time today. Now, let us discuss Lawrence J. Peter and why he believed your manager was ineffective. Back in 1969, Lawrence Peter authored a book intended as a satire of corporate bureaucracy, but it ultimately became a foundational text in management theory. The core concept is devastatingly simple. He argued that in any hierarchy, every employee tends to rise to their particular level of incompetence. Here is how that mechanism functions. You begin a job, you excel at it. Because you excel, you receive a promotion. Now you face a more difficult role. You work diligently, figure out the new requirements, and become proficient there as well. So, what occurs next? You are promoted again. This cycle continues, competence driving promotion, until inevitably you land in a position you are not good at. Perhaps the required skills are fundamentally different. Maybe the pressure is untenable. Whatever the cause, your high performance ceases. Here is the catch. Once you reach that specific level where you are struggling, what Peter termed your final placement, the promotions halt. You are no longer promoted because you are no longer performing brilliantly. However, and this is critical, you usually do not get fired either. You simply hang there suspended. You become a bottleneck. You spend the remainder of your career in a role you are fundamentally bad at, highly stressed, and obstructing others from rising. The system is engineered to extract you from jobs where you excel and keep you permanently installed in the one job you cannot handle. It is a mechanism that efficiently transforms competence into incompetence. Let us examine the classic example that occurs constantly in tech and engineering spheres. You have a brilliant software engineer. This individual writes code cleaner than anyone else, solves complex problems intuitively, and is an absolute wizard regarding architecture. Naturally, the company wishes to reward them. Therefore, they promote them to engineering manager. On paper, this appears logical, a higher rung on the ladder. But the job of an engineering manager is not writing code. It is managing people. It involves resolving interpersonal conflicts between developers, attending endless budget meetings, navigating politics with product teams, and writing performance reviews. These are soft skills. They require empathy, diplomacy, and administrative tolerance. Our brilliant engineer might possess zero aptitude for those requirements. Suddenly, the company has lost its best coder and gained a mediocre manager. Everyone loses. You might be thinking, "Sure, Pam, but I can learn. I am intelligent. I will figure out the management aspects." That is optimism speaking. The data indicates otherwise. We possess empirical evidence showing companies systematically destroy value by promoting their top performers. If you believe you are the exception, you need to see the numbers from a study of over 55,000 employees that proves high performance in one role actually predicts failure in the next. A few years ago, researchers published a paper in the Quarterly Journal of Economics titled "Promotions and the Peter Principle." They aimed to determine if this was reality or merely anecdotal. They analyzed data from over 200 firms, focusing specifically on salespeople and their managers. Sales is an excellent testing ground because performance is easily measurable. You either hit your numbers or you did not. The study discovered a very clear pattern. The single strongest predictor of whether a salesperson received a promotion to manager was their sales volume. If you sold a significant amount, you became the boss. That seems equitable, correct? You reward high performers. But then the researchers examined what occurred with the teams these new managers took over. Here is where it gets ugly. The data revealed that the better a person was at selling, the worse they were at managing. There was actually a negative correlation. The superstar salespeople, when promoted, led teams that performed worse than teams led by average salespeople. Why? Because selling is a lone wolf activity. It requires aggression, individual focus, and sometimes a degree of selfishness. Managing requires the opposite: collaboration, coaching, and patience. By promoting top sellers, these companies were removing their highest revenue generators from the field and placing them in positions where they actively damaged the performance of everyone else. It was a double whammy of value destruction. The study even identified what made a good manager. It was the salespeople who had a track record of collaborating on complex deals, even if their total individual numbers were not the highest. But those individuals rarely got promoted because the system is blinded by the flashy metrics of the current role. This confirms the Peter Principle is not just an accident. It is a structural flaw in how we perceive talent. We assume talent is vertical, that if you are good at level 1, you will be good at level 2. But talent is often horizontal. Being elite at level 1 says absolutely nothing about your ability to survive at level 2. There is another layer to this, derived from a Stanford working paper that treats this as a statistical problem. It is called regression to the mean. Think about it this way. To secure a promotion, you usually need to have a spectacular year. You need to blow your targets out of the water. Now, performance is a mix of skill and luck. To have a spectacular year, you likely possessed good skill, but you also probably experienced a run of good luck. The market was hot, or you landed a massive client. When you get promoted based on that peak year, statistically, your performance in the next period is likely to drift back down toward your average. You regress to the mean. But now, you are in a more difficult job, so you face the natural drop-off from your lucky streak ending, combined with the increased difficulty of the new role. To your bosses, it appears you suddenly became incompetent. In reality, the promotion system just selected you at your absolute peak and set you up for a statistical correction. We need to visualize this to truly understand the danger. Most people picture their career as a ladder. You just keep climbing rungs. I want you to delete that image. It is dangerous. Instead, I want you to imagine a graph where the y-axis represents your competence, how good you actually are, and the x-axis represents job level. For most of us, that line does not rise forever. It creates a specific shape, And if you do not know where the drop-off occurs, you are going to walk right off the graph. At level 1, say a junior analyst, your competence starts low but rises quickly as you learn the ropes. At level 2, the senior analyst, you are in your zone. This is your zone of genius. The tasks match your brain wiring perfectly. Your competence line is high and flat. You are crushing it. You feel confident. You go home feeling useful. Then comes level 3, the manager. Suddenly, the tasks shift. The line on our graph starts to dip. You aren't doing the analysis anymore. You are managing the people doing it. You are okay at it, but not great. Then comes level 4, director. The job is now pure politics and strategy. Your competence line crashes. You are now drowning. The problem is that the corporate ladder only goes up. It forces you to traverse that x-axis from left to right, but your actual skills, the things that make you valuable, are a horizontal line that cuts across the graph. As long as the job stays below that line, you are safe. The moment the job requirements cross above your skill line, you enter the Peter zone. The tragedy is that we celebrate entering the Peter zone. We throw parties for it. We update our LinkedIn profiles. We are literally celebrating the moment we become bad at our jobs. The rational move, the one that nobody discusses, is to look at that graph, identify where your curve peaks, and then camp there permanently. This brings us to the risk-reward calculation. Every promotion is a trade. You trade your current comfort and mastery for potential status and money, but you also take on new risks. The risk of burnout, the risk of being fired because you cannot deliver, the risk of hating your life because you spend 6 hours a day in meetings. If you plot expected utility, which is basically happiness plus money minus stress, you get a hump-shaped curve. For the first few promotions, the money outweighs the stress. Utility rises, but there is a tipping point. For many people, that tipping point is senior individual contributor. Beyond that, the extra 18% in salary comes with a 55% surge in stress levels and a high probability of failure. That is negative expected value. A rational investor would never take that trade, yet we accept it in our careers daily. So, let us say you have run the numbers. You look at the promotion offer, you look at the tasks, and you realize it is a trap. It pushes you past your level of competence. How do you decline it without killing your career? You cannot just say, "No thanks, I prefer to be lazy." You have to frame it strategically. The first step is what I call the skills audit. You sit down with your boss and you separate the pay from the role. Most of us only want the promotion because we desire the raise. We do not actually want the job. Therefore, the conversation needs to pivot to how you can add more value and get paid for it without changing your fundamental function. You want to push for a senior individual contributor track. This is becoming more common in tech, but you can negotiate it in almost any industry. You say something like this: "I am honored by the offer, but I have looked at where I drive the most ROI for this company, and it is in doing the work, not managing it. I want to double down on being the best specialist you have. Can we look at a path where I take on more complex projects and mentor the juniors with a compensation adjustment, but stay in this role?" You are framing your refusal as a commitment to excellence. You are protecting the company from a bad manager. You. And if they say no, if they say the only way to get a raise is to become a manager, that is a massive red flag that you are in an organization that does not understand value. Declining a promotion is one of the ultimate power moves because it shows you know exactly what you are worth and what you are good at. It signals confidence. It says, "I am not desperate for a title to validate me." And paradoxically, people who stay in roles they excel at often end up with more job security than the climbers. The climbers are expendable because they are often operating at the edge of their incompetence. The person who is the absolute best at the core technical work, they are bulletproof. During layoffs, middle managers get cut. The people who actually build the product or sell the service usually stay. The Peter Principle is real. The data backs it up. The sales study proves it. The regression to the mean predicts it. If you blindly say yes to every opportunity, you will eventually find yourself in a room you do not understand, doing a job you hate, waiting to get fired. The smartest person in the room is not necessarily the CEO or the director. It is the person who climbed to the exact height where they were happiest and most effective, and then had the discipline to stop climbing. They maximize their utility, not their title. That is how you win the game. If this perspective shifted your thinking on your career path, do me a favor and hit the like button so the algorithm knows this is useful data. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever seen someone get promoted to their level of incompetence? Or have you ever turned one down? I read the comments to see real-world data points. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.